Hello, it's David Nuno here. TexAgs Rewind presented by T-Mobile. Thank you, T-Mobile. On the show today on a Monday, we had Billy Liucci in here. He gave us his game thoughts, caught up with Luch about that. We did around Aggieland. Richard Zane, he's good, he's funny, he's tall. Not really. And we had Tom Hart from the SEC Network. He gave his opinions on the weekend, and of course, so did Peter Burns, our SEC Network. Monday, all that and more here on TexAgs Rewind.
Let's have at it. It's a loathsome Monday.
Well, I gave you props at the start of the show. I think I gave you props yesterday on Luchador
thanks.
because you gave me some perspective. It is very easy to get caught up in the moment, have an emotional reaction to a loss. And on Saturday night, that might be the place for that.
For sure.
On Sunday, you took a little step back and looked at the big picture. We're here on Monday, and the presser's coming up here in a few hours. Kind of reiterate and set the table for your perspective on where this season is right now.
Well, to me, in my honest opinion, the book is not yet written because there's a big swing that still awaits one way or the other. Yes, you wanted to beat Ole Miss. Yes, after you go back and see how that game played out, you realize that was just absolutely there for the taking. You had a chance to go on the road and beat a top 15 team in their house in a hostile environment against a Heisman Trophy, probably finalist in Matt Corral, and it was right there for you. Forget about the fact that you started so terribly and you wish you could reset that part of it. And the second time away from home that's happened to the Aggies this year in SEC play, but just the fact that you had the ball down 2 points and you were moving up and down the field for a couple possessions, several possessions in a row there, I think 3 at least. I think 3 out of 4 up until that point, you had moved it real successfully. And you get the ball and you couldn't capitalize. And then the game got away from you right there in that moment on the road midway through the fourth quarter. So even with the bad start and everything, you were there with the chance to win the game. And all you actually needed was a field goal. So that's very frustrating. That's going to haunt, Jimbo and this team. And they're, a lot of times athletes don't look back, at that age, and it's the next game, and then the season's over, and then they're either going on to the NFL or they're getting ready to the next one. But the reality is, Fisher and his coaching staff, they're probably looking back at Mississippi State and this one and really wondering what should have been.
Ready to go around Aggieland?
It got really awkwardly quiet here.
It did.
It was like I just kind of waited for more.
Really weird. All right, let's go around Aggieland. Obviously, after the loss on Saturday night, Texas A&M has fallen in the polls, down to 16 in both the AP and the coaches poll. The college football ranking will come out on Tuesday. Kind of expect them to be in that same area as well. Jimbo Fisher and company will talk to the media today. We'll have full coverage of that press conference on TexAgs.com and at TexAgs on Twitter. Want to remind you that Saturday's game against Prairie View A&M, an 11 a.m. kickoff. It'll be streaming only. SEC Network Plus through your cable provider login or the paid subscription service ESPN Plus. Men's basketball news, they're up to 3-0 on the young season. Hassan Diarra's double overtime three-pointer defeated Abilene Christian 81-80 on Friday night, and then they took care of A&M Corpus Christi 86-65 on Sunday. They'll play Houston Baptist on Wednesday, a noon tip-off. Gary Blair and company in town for a couple of games this week. DePaul tonight, 7 o'clock tip-off on SEC Network Plus before they host Stephen F. Austin on Thursday for a 7 o'clock tip. Volleyball, rough weekend in Lexington, playing number 7 Kentucky. Did not win a single set on the weekend. 3-0 on swept 3-0 on Saturday, swept 3-0 on Sunday. They'll host Arkansas on Wednesday at Reed Arena, 7 o'clock first serve. Equestrian, though, 2 wins on the weekend. The number 4 Aggies traveled to the state of Tennessee, defeated UT Martin 12-8 on Friday before defeating Lynchburg 8-2 on Sunday. They'll host, Saturday. They'll host a top 5 matchup on Thursday. Number 2 Auburn in town. 1 o'clock is when that meet begins at Hildebrand. David?
Well, to me, the biggest picture, and this might be recency bias because I just came from Baton Rouge, the biggest picture is how does winning and losing impact Jimbo's availability to LSU? Meaning, like we know Scott Woodward's going to do everything within his power to try and get Jimbo to take that job. right? We know that. We know he's going to throw as much money as he can. He's going to try to convince him. He's going to put a hard sell job on him. It's probably already started. I'm not saying Jimbo's going to take the job.
Yeah.
I think it's probably less than 50-50 right now, but there's a chance. So if A&M wins that game, things fall their way, they end up winning the West, man, it's really hard to leave, right? Because then we're on the right track. I can build a championship here. We can maybe get into the playoff. I mean, there's all these things that come with each and every win, because with a 13 game schedule, every game has incredible value in college football. I mean, it's not like college basketball where you can start off 0-4 or 4-0 and your season goes a completely different way. Like, every win has incredible value here. So what would a win have meant to Jimbo being even more firmly entrenched at A&M? Not because I think he's looking elsewhere, but just he needs to know that he can win a championship there. We know for a fact, because the last three coaches have done it, that you can win a national championship at LSU. So to me, that's kind of the big picture. How does this season and what happens from here on out impact what Jimbo thinks about his chances to achieve his goals at A&M?
I think that's a good point. I don't think it is a needle mover enough to push him over. Like, I think had you not won that game against Bama, had recruiting not been going like it is, and I also think it was the residual from that field storming, the outpouring of emotion, the donations to the charity after to the tune of 41-38, like all of those things, plus the what recruiting has done since then. I think those confirm to him, in my opinion, like they've got to sit back on Monday after the Ole Miss game and maybe not blame. I think the right thing to do there would be to look inwardly and say, what did we do wrong here in this one? Why did we lose this game? Because you beat Bama, you lost to Ole Miss. That has nothing to do with, hey, we can't win a championship at A&M, in my opinion. But I agree with you. Like, had they won that game, that's the thing, is what you gave up by not winning it. Had you won it, man, then you're sitting there going, heck, we might do it this year. We almost made the playoff last year. So it stinks.
Oh, man. Because they're not members of the SEC, I can say this. I kind of hope they're not. Is that okay? And the reason why I say that's kind of convoluted, just because I like all my friends over at TexAgs, so I have to make sure I get that in. But B, I think it's just a good lesson for a lot of programs to learn. Like, hey, I know that you weren't happy with Tom Herman, and you thought, all right, well, this is just not our guy. Sarkisian, that's what we need. Well, it's not easy. Like, when you keep turning over staff, it's hard. I mean, remember when Frank Solich was fired at Nebraska? Like, everybody thought, 9-3 is not good for Nebraska. He's no Tom Osborne. Well, guess what? They haven't been right ever since then, and that's like late 90s, early 2000s. I'm just worried in Austin, how in the world are you going to get that right if you're getting ready to enter the SEC? Like, I mean, it just goes to show you A&M's decision of throwing the SEC that far ahead has put them as the big game in town, and definitely not Texas. Texas is by far a little brother. There's not a doubt about it.
High five to everybody watching. Do us a favor, like it, subscribe to it, comment on it, share it, and we will see you guys tomorrow on TexAgs Rewind, presented by T-Mobile.